Hi, here for another episode of Rock Your Life with Ari and Alexander. And oh my gosh, today I have a super fabulous treat for you. My amazing friend Jeremy Valdez is here for an interview, and you're gonna love him because I love him and he's awesome. And you've probably seen him all over your TV. He's been an actor for many years here in Los Angeles, working on some of your favorite shows. We're gonna talk all about it. Usually at the start of shows like this, of a radio show, they give this bio of the person that they're speaking to, but I get really bored when I hear the bios and I skip through until they get to the meaty part of actually talking to the person. So we're gonna get to the meaty part first, and then we're gonna get you the bio. We're gonna know all about you by the end of this time together today. Okay. So hi, Jeremy.
Hi, Arian.
All right, so I'm just gonna dive right in because that's how I like to roll. Okay, Jeremy's been my friend for a long time, and I adore him, and I've learned a lot from him, and we have a lot of fun together. So I'm curious for you. There's a lot of things I don't know about you, and since this is the Rock Your Life radio show, it's important for me to know what's a pivotal moment that actually changed your life and rocked your life.
Wow. What's a pivotal moment? Obviously, this is not rehearsed. I would say the moment that after I graduated college and my buddy CJ and I we were roommates. I went to the University of Arizona and majored in finance, and graduating, I went to go work for Merrill Lynch in Scottsdale, and I was super miserable. And one day we were watching TV hungover. It's like a Saturday morning, and we were watching golf. And he's like, "Man, I want to be a professional golfer." And he'd been playing golf his whole life. And I looked at him, I said, "Man, I want to act." And he was like, "What? You've never told me about that." I'm like, "Yeah, I know, because I was like too afraid to tell anybody about it." So he said, "You should do that." And I was like, "Well, you should go play golf." And he's like, "Okay, let's do it." And I, in that instant, like, I made up my mind to be an actor, and I quit my job at Merrill Lynch, packed up all my stuff, and moved to LA.
He moved to Beverly. Okay, this is so great. I love that we're starting off with this because this is a huge thing for people to really learn from and know, is like you had this creative aspect that obviously was always in you and didn't actualize it because it probably didn't seem like the right thing to do. Or
I was timid, and I was afraid of what people would think of me. People would say, negative things to me or tell me that I couldn't do it. And sure enough, I mean, when I did it and I told my friends and told my parents, I heard everything from "you're too short," "you're too brown," "you're not good looking enough." Nobody except for like my buddy CJ, parents included, told me, "Oh yeah, you're talented, man. You can do this. Like everything you do, like you end up doing it or doing it well. So, go try this. You only live once." Nobody said that to me. And so I kind of just sucked it up and did it. But, and it was a little terrifying. Yeah.
Oh my God, this is so exciting because this is what this radio show is all about, is rocking your life. And you're just telling me, like, we could do like 10 episodes on that, on what you just shared. Because one of the things that I think is so important that you said is that you were afraid of what people would think of you. So I've been a coach for many years. I coach people on really about visibility and confidence and how to be on camera and, how to have this amazing life in business. And that is the one thing that I hear for literally every single person who comes to work with me is
yeah. I mean, we've talked about it before, and there are only two fears in life, two actual fears. There's the actual fear of dying or being hurt. And that's the fear you feel when you stand at the edge of a building and you're like, "Oh, shit, like I can fall and kill myself," or you're doing something super dangerous. And then the only other fear is the fear of being ostracized from the group. And it's a real thing. When people tell me, "I don't give a shit what people think of me," I'm like, you're full of it. Everybody gives a shit what people think of them. Yes. Because it is innately built in our psyche to not want to be ostracized from the group. Because when we were hunters and gatherers, we were dependent on being a member of a tribe for shelter, warmth, food, everything. And that has stuck in our brain. And so, yeah, when you do things and you're like, "Oh my God, I'm worried about what people are going to think of me," it's a real fear. It's the reason you get nervous when you go to an audition or you get up on stage or you stand up in front of people to talk. Public speaking is that fear of being ostracized from the group. And so, yeah, I felt that very much. I still feel it. And I just have been able to compartmentalize it to get through huge moments in my career and my life.
Yeah, that's amazing. And how do you think you've actually gotten through it? Because that is a huge thing. So how have you gotten through that fear of what are people going to think of me?
I realize where the nerves and the fear is actually coming from. And I just tell myself, oh, wait, Jeremy, you're not going to be hurt in this moment. You're not going to die. You're not going to be injured. You're not going to break any bones. So what you're feeling is just that fear. And it's not a real fear. You can overcome that. Am I still nervous? Is my heart still pounding? Yes. Does my hand shake sometimes? Yeah. Does my voice quiver sometimes? Yes. And even after being on huge stages playing music or on big sets or doing crazy things in front of, thousands of people or, I still feel that. I don't, and it's a scary thing, but you just kind of have to get through it.
I love that because, again, this is one thing that, so you intuitively just walk through the fear. Like it's still there. Mm-hmm. But you just still do the thing.
I just force myself to do it.
And that's a huge, it's such an asset as a human being because most people will let the fear overwhelm them and they'll back off. Mm-hmm. So what is it about you? How do you do that?
Oh, gosh. I just say, suck it up. Just suck it up. This is what you want to do. And in the beginning, I used to tell myself, this is what you want to do, right? You've given up your whole life to do this. And now when I feel that fear, I think to myself, well, damn, Jeremy, you've been doing this for so long and you've done this same exact thing that you're about to do 1,000 times. And you've lived through each and every moment of that. So get over it and just do it. Like every time I'm waiting in my dressing room, the beginning of a day, and I'm going over my lines and I'm super intense about, okay, I can't screw this up. I don't want to let people down. And then when you're working on a soap opera, you sit in your dressing room and there's an intercom in your dressing room and it says, Jeremy Valdez to set, 2 scenes up. And I'm like, grab all my stuff and I run to the set. And that moment, almost every day, I think to myself oh God, what if I screw this up? What if I can't do this? What if I'm terrible? And then I look at myself in the mirror and I'm like, dude, you've done this literally 1,000 times. Just go do it. And then after the first take is over, usually I'm just like, oh yeah, this is what I do. I'm good at it. Cool. Or, you show up to a big movie set and you're working with huge actors, famous directors and stuff. And you're like, oh God, what if I let them down? What if I make a fool of myself? What if they hate me? What if they talk shit about me? What if? And then after the first, take or the first rehearsal, I'm like, oh no, this is what I do. I've been training for this for years and years and years and I'm good at it. And I have confidence in myself. So yeah, that's it.
Well, yeah, you are good at it and you do have confidence. And we're going to make t-shirts that says, Jeremy Valdez, suck it up.
Yeah. Hashtag suck it up.
So I'm going to ask you about so many things on set and some of the huge stars you've worked with because I know from personal experience there's so much to be learned from that. But we're going to take a break for just a minute. Okay. And you're listening to Rock Your Life with Ari and Alexander. We are on the Fun for Life radio station, which says it all, on Dash Radio. And we have so many other amazing shows on here. My delightful friend Pili Montilla has Truth and Tunes with Pili Montilla. My friend Jack C. Merrick has just started a show called In Love with Jack C. Merrick that's all about love songs and heartbreak and all kinds of things. So here on Fun for Life Radio, we have a great mixture of music and talk and entertainment that you're going to love. So check out our other shows and we'll be right back. We're back here with Jeremy Valdez, who is an amazing, successful writer, actor, producer here in Hollywood. And he's also a good friend of mine. And we're actually sitting right next to each other, and which I don't usually do. Usually I interview guests on Zoom, but we're friends and we're in LA. So I was like, let's just do this together in studio, right? Because it's way more fun. And I love what you said about how, I want to go back to something you said about how no one said you can do it. People were like, you're too short, you're too brown, you're not good at pretty, you're not good looking enough or whatever. I'm just here to tell you all, we're on radio, but I'm going to put pictures of Jeremy up. He's definitely good looking enough and looks like an actor. Like, I don't know what people were thinking.
Because people will mirror their insecurities on you. They will put their insecurities on you each and every time. That's why I am whether it's my creative life, my business life, my personal life, there are this like select few people that I will ask their opinion.
I think that's really, really cool and smart that you don't just listen to everybody's free-for-all about you. And you said something...
Or about my work.
Oh.
When you ask opinions about your work or what they think you should do or what people think of you, because most people, when you ask them their opinion, they'll put their insecurities and their crap on you. And so, yeah, like I said, I just have a few people. And when people see my work and they're like, oh, do you want me to let you know what I think of that film or that show or your performance? I'll be like, no, I'm good. And they'll look at me like, or they'll start saying, here's my critique of the project. And I'll be like, I didn't ask you your opinion. And maybe that might come off as a little harsh, but I don't have room in my psyche to deal with other people's stuff when it comes to my work, because all it will do is just, it'll destroy you. Let me give you a quick story. In 2010, I had a movie at Sundance called La Mission that I starred in with Benjamin Bratt. And it was gangbusters. It was huge. Like, all the reviews were insanely good. I won like a Best Supporting Actor award. It was just an unbelievable year for me. And then the next year, I don't know how, but another film I did called All She Can premiered at Sundance the very next year. And I was like, oh, everybody's movies go to Sundance. I had no idea. And so after the first night of screening at Sundance, I woke up the next morning. I opened up my computer. I'm like, let me read the reviews. This is going to be great. Like, my ego's going to just go through the roof. And it'll be like last year when everybody loved me and I got all these offers and crazy cool stuff happened. Well, the very first review I read was All She Can, Amy Wendell, who was the director. I'm paraphrasing. It was something like she needed great actors for this movie. Instead, she got stuck with Jeremy Ray Valdez and my co-star. And I was like, and it killed me. It literally crushed me. I slammed the computer shut and I started throwing all my shit into my suitcase. And I'm like, I'm out of here. First day of Sundance, I'm leaving. Why am I even acting? I'm going to quit. What is going on here? And in that moment, I called one of those few people who I will ask their opinion. And she's an actress. I'm not going to say her name, but she's an actress that's been on a million things, huge star. And she said, Jeremy, that opinion does not matter. Critics' opinions do not matter. Don't ever read them as an actor or as a performer, because if it's a great review, it's going to screw you up, which it did the year before. And if it's a bad review, it's going to screw you up. And I was like, oh, wow, you're so right. She's like, pick your few little people that you really value their opinion and ask them their opinion of the project or of your work. And so that's a lesson I learned. That
is a huge lesson and a hard one to learn, especially being in the public eye.
And I didn't quit. I mean, it's 10 years ago and I'm still here. So
thank goodness. But it's so important. It's something that you and I have talked about, is that it's all projections. Everything we do in life is just a projection onto another person. And it's kind of a hard thing to understand sometimes. But so if someone says to you, like they did and have in different times in your career, like, you, not that you can't do it, but what are you thinking? Or you're too short, you're too brown, you're not handsome enough, whatever they say. It's because it's our own unresolved issues of self-worth
Sure.
that like I can't handle within myself. So then I have to throw it on you and make it about you instead of owning my own insecurities that I can't do what I want. Like you went for it. And most people stay safe in life and you were like, fuck that. Like I'm going for it. And it rattles people.
It does. It truly does. And I tell people when people ask me my opinion, I will tell them I might not be the guy you want your opinion because you want the opinion from, because I'm going to take all my shit out and I'm going to be technically, right on about what I think of your project, your whatever it is. I will be like, okay, do you want I'm not going to sugarcoat it, or I'm not going to tell you you're great if you're not great. I'm not going to tell you you're bad if you're great. So here you go. And they'll look at me like, okay, go ahead. Or they'll be like, nah, I'll skip it.
Yeah. Note to self, don't ever send Jeremy any of my acting clips for opinions.
Because I can take my stuff out of it and I can say like, okay, here's what I honestly think of it.
Yeah.
We're not in competition. We don't compete for the same roles. So,
Love it. Okay, cool. So let's get some juicy stuff.
What?
So, yeah.
I don't know.
So you been on Bold and Beautiful since
3 years.
Okay, so 3 years playing Detective Alex Sanchez.
Love it. I love people. Before I started, sorry to cut you off.
I love it. Tell me.
I just have to say this, like. I never thought I'd be doing daytime TV because in the acting world, there's this kind of stigma attached to soap operas or daytime TV, whatever you want to call it. And people think, oh, that's like bottom of the barrel. That's not good acting or whatever. And I just have to tell you, like, the actors, producers, writers, directors, crew, everybody on this set, they are the hardest working people I've ever worked with. And it's like a family. Brad Bell, who's the producer and one of the creators of Bold and Beautiful, it's his show. It's the Bell family show. Bold and Beautiful and Y&R, Young and the Restless, are privately owned shows. The Bell family owns them. And I'm not just saying this because he'll probably won't hear this, but he's the best boss I've ever had. And the first thing he said, he's like, welcome to the family. Oh. And they just treat you like family. Everybody has your back. Every actor knows how hard daytime TV is, how much endless memorization there is. And John McCook, who's been on the show for 34 years, my first week of working, he said, hey, Jeremy, will you come to my dressing room, or I can come to yours, and can we run lines? Because I have a lot of them today. And I'm like, whoa, here's a dude that's been doing it for this long, and he wants to just run lines. And sometimes if you're on a big show, network show, the head of the show might not be like, oh, will you run lines with me? Or a big movie star won't be like, hey, will you run lines with me? But here, I just feel like I've loved it. And I told Brad Bell, like, no matter where my career goes, please let me just continue to be on this show, because I will do it for the rest of my career if you'll let me. And I'll go do my other shows and other films whenever I have time off.
Wow.
Which is often. But yeah.
That's so cool. I mean, it's such a testimony to creating the atmosphere on set.
Right.
That
because I've been on the other side. I've been on movies and TV shows when there's not synergy and where people do not get along, and it is the worst experience you can ever imagine. So,
wow. Yeah. Okay. So many cool things about that I want to ask you about. But first, I want to give everyone listening a little taste of when you say the daytime actors, the daytime drama actors are the hardest working people, which you and I know, but what does that mean? So you say you have to memorize all these things. So just take us through like a day in the life of a daytime actor.
Let me just say this, like on not a normal TV show, like on a movie, sometimes you will do only 1 or 2 scenes an entire day. And, which may be like 4 pages of dialogue, 3, 4, 5 pages of dialogue at the most. And you're like, okay, on a daytime show, just for example, the day after my son was born, I had 40 pages of dialogue.
Oh my gosh.
Which is an insane amount of memorization. In my first week of working on there, they're like, okay, here's what your week looks like. And I was just like stacks and stacks of lines of dialogue. We call them sides, which are basically just scenes, pages printed out, and they call them sides in Hollywood. And I was like, how am I going to do this? this is going to be impossible. And everybody's like, no, you'll get the hang of it. You'll figure it out. And I panicked and I was like, I'm going to suck. And I did all those things where I panicked and I can't do this. And I just sat at my dining room table the week before I started working and just memorized and memorized and memorized. And sure enough, it stuck. And then it becomes a muscle in your brain that just kind of clicks. And now I can, I'll have an audition with 10 pages of sides. And as an actor, if you get an audition with 10 pages of sides, you're like, oh my God, that's so much stuff I have to memorize. And now I'm like, oh, whatever. I can do this in 5 minutes. I don't care. Like, I'll look at it 2 times and, but I know there's guys on the show and girls that they'll look at 20 pages of dialogue one time and have it memorized. And I still can't do that. But yeah, it's so much work. And you only have like 1 or 2 takes. You have to hit your marks. You have to be good. You have to be perfect. And then they move on a, movie or a primetime network show. You may have 10, 20 takes of one scene more. And in daytime, no, it's multiple cameras and you only get a couple takes. And it's a pressure cooker. And if you fail, you will not have a job because there are thousands and thousands of actors out there dying for your job. So you show up ready to rock and roll and hopefully you don't drop the ball. No pressure.
Wow, no pressure there. Yeah. So, as a human being, how do you manage that pressure and use it? How do you do that?
Well, I'm a human being, like you said, and sometimes I cave under the pressure and sometimes I'll yell, or not in front of people, but I'll be in my room or my dressing room and be like, oh my God, I'm going to lose my shit right now. This is too much. I can't handle it. And I'll get scared and I'll get nervous and I'll just go get through it.
Wow. I love it. Yeah,
okay. It's terrifying and it can be terrifying. And because, this is a worldwide show. People all over the world watch it. Yes. It's the most watched daytime show in the world. It's a primetime show in Italy and in Europe and other parts of Europe. But I say Italy because it's like a huge deal in Italy. But, so you don't want to look like an ass in front of the entire planet.
Yes, it's not fun to look like an ass in front of the entire planet.
No.
All right, so I'm here with Jeremy Valdez. We're going to take a little break. He plays Detective Alex Sanchez on The Bold and the Beautiful and has been on tons of TV shows and movies that you've seen through the years. So we're going to pause for just a moment and we'll be back with more scoop from Hollywood. Okay, Jeremy, we're still going to dish about Hollywood. So tell me about, you don't have to name names because obviously you're not going to name names, but the worst experience with a superstar that you've had.
I did this really big movie with a huge superstar. And I worked for months and months and he would sit right next to me and every day and not even say hi to me and not even talk to me. Or I'd say hi to him in the morning and he'd just say hi. And the whole rest of the time he wouldn't look at me unless we were working. He would never engage with me and it was so off-putting. And that's probably I would say that's the worst experience. I'm not going to say who he was, but I will just say he dodges bullets.
Okay, that bullet dodger. So how was that?
In movies.
Hint. How was that for you? How did you manage that? Because that is really rude and that is so pretentious.
I think at that point I had already been on other really big TV shows and film projects and realized that he is the exception and not the norm. I will name drop and say, I've worked with Edward James Olmos, who is my first kind of mentor in this business and gave me a lot of advice. And I did a TV show with him at the beginning of my career called The American Family. And then he directed me in an HBO movie called Walkout. And just he is a worldwide superstar, and especially in the Latino community, but his fame kind of transcends that, and he's a crossover actor. But just to see the way that he interacts with people and how humble he is and how gracious he is. I'll tell you another person, my friend Gina Rodriguez, who from Jane the Virgin and all kinds of other movies. People, when we go and hang out, people will stop her in the street, no matter where we are, and ask for pictures and autographs. And she was always so gracious, so kind, so humble, so grateful for the fact that she has fans and she's able to have this career. And I think that's the norm in Hollywood. And I think the stuck up, like arrogant, mean actor is definitely not the norm.
Yeah, it's such a myth. Being in LA and being in the entertainment business, we get to see like how it really is. But there's such a myth of what Hollywood is outside of Hollywood. I'm from Oklahoma and Kansas, and like people have a different opinion, and everyone thinks like the first thing everybody asks me is like, what stars have you seen? And I'm like, I don't know, like people just are normal people walking around, because most of the actors that work in LA are called working actors. Mm-hmm. There's like superstars that everybody knows their name.
The one percenters, right?
Jennifer Aniston, Tom Cruise. Like I'm not hanging out with them. I don't know them. But the most of the people are, like you say, are working actors. Going from movie to movie, from TV show to TV show, or if they get lucky, they're on a TV show for 7 years or 10 years, but that's very rare. So most people are just working because they love this craft. And I think that's what people outside the business don't understand, that everybody's still just hustling for a job at all times.
Well, I've had the opportunity to speak at a lot of like colleges or high schools or, acting classes and things like that. And one of the things I always tell people, that are just getting into this business is, if you're not here doing it for the right reason, if you're not here because you love acting, because this is what moves you, this is what drives you, this is your passion, then ski-daddle. Because it's such a gut-wrenching, soul-crushing business that you cannot sustain trying to do this just because you want to be famous, or because you want free things, or because you want to hang out with celebrities. There is no payoff there. First of all, like I thought it would be, when I first started, I thought, oh my God, it'd be so cool for people to ask me for my autograph. And then once it started happening, I was like, oh, this is cool. And then you get over it really quick. Or like hanging out with super famous people, or like, oh wow, I'm friends with so-and-so, or, like you said, they're just people. Or I'm doing a movie or a TV show with this guy or that guy. And then once you meet him and you're around him for, a few minutes, that kind of wears off and you're just colleagues and you're working. So yeah, do it because you love to do it. And otherwise you're going to be super miserable. You'll quit, you'll leave. And
yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and it's such a better motivation to be doing what you do, because it's such hard work, and it's as an actor, most of the time you're auditioning and you're not booking the job, and the booking the job is the icing on the cake, but most of the time you're working to get a job, basically.
Right, and Ron Howard says, the job is auditioning, and the payoff, you're being paid, is to get to work. Now, I've been doing this for a long time, like 17, 18 years. And I'm still not I still have to audition. And I have friends that are, people you would recognize everywhere you go, and they're still auditioning.
Yeah.
It's, very select people get offered things. Now, I do get offered things every once in a while, but it's not like everything I do, I get offered. No, I have to go and hustle and put in a good audition and really work my butt off to do it.
Do you drive a Rolls Royce and live in a mansion in Hollywood?
No, I drive a Chevy truck that I love. And I love my neighborhood, and I live in a really cool place, but no, I don't have a Rolls Royce.
It's another misconception.
I don't know anybody, like any of my friends, even like superstar actor friends that I have or I know, none of them have Rolls Royces.
I know, right? It's funny because
there's a couple Ferraris there, maybe a Porsche, but nobody has like a Rolls Royce.
It's funny, isn't it? It's such a like myth of what
the guys Hollywood that drive Rolls Royces in Hollywood are like the dentists. Like, if you see a Rolls Royce, 9 times out of 10, it's going to be a dentist or a surgeon or something.
Okay,
yeah.
good to know. Good to know. I did not know it was dentists and surgeons. That's hilarious. Oh my gosh. Okay, so tell me about, I would love to know about what's the what's the project you worked on that you feel like you learned the most about yourself?
Gosh. I don't think this is a lame answer. You're probably going to roll your eyes, but maybe not just one of them, because I'm always evolving as an actor, as a human being. I think I learn more about myself after it's over, and I look in the past and I'm in hindsight, and I think, oh my God, like this is the lesson that I learned that at the time I didn't know I was learning that lesson. I used to, for an example, a lesson I've learned, like I used to book a job, get on set, and as soon as I landed on set, I was like, okay, what's the next thing? I'd be on phone with my agents or my manager and be like, okay, this is cool. I'm here, but what's next? You know, how did this other meeting go that I had? Or, you know, what's another show I can be doing? And instead of living in that moment and enjoying that moment and enjoying where I am at that time. And so that's a big lesson. And I think every project I've worked on, big or small, I learned something. Like I've learned how to be more humble, because there have been times, and I'm guilty of it, in times in my career when I wasn't the most humble person. I wasn't so warm with people because I was dealing with my own shit, my own insecurities, my own fears. And that came across as people thinking that I was unapproachable or not the nicest person, when in actuality, it was just me being afraid of what people think of me, or like I said, my insecurities. And so now I'm like, okay, Jeremy, you have to be nice to people. You have to, you know, like smile and shake hands, and you can't just go brooding, sitting in your trailer or in the corner somewhere working on your craft. And so those are, you know, those are lessons. Every project I learn from everybody I work with. I learned from the catering people. I learned from the hair people. I learned, you know, just how to deal with one another and other actors, you know, how to be a professional on set, how to, you know, be a professional actor and be good at what you do. And yeah. I
love that. And I think what stood out to me was two things. That you said, I didn't know I was learning the lesson until the rearview mirror came in. And I so see that with my own life, of course. I can be, especially and with clients too, it's like when you're, okay, most people, it happens when they're in a shit show. You're not in a shit show when you're on set working or whatever. You're just doing things, and then you can look back and see what you learned. But most people, when they're in a shit show of like relationship or life or money or whatever it is, it's so hard to see. Actually, it's so funny. I had a phone conversation this morning because I had a conversation with someone earlier that really triggered me, and I couldn't figure out why, because I was in my own shit show around it. And I called my friend and she talked me off the ledge. But when I'm in it, I can't see the lessons because I'm in it.
That's of course. And the kind of mirror of that is I can give advice to people that are going through their shit. I'll be like, oh, well, this is what's happening, man. Or, you know, this is what you're going through. You know, it's pretty easy to figure out. But when I'm in the shit show, like all my advice that I give to other people, it's like just floating in the ether, and I can't pick it up. And I'm like, that's why when I call people like you and I'm like, Arian, I'm struggling right now because XYZ. And you're like, well, Jeremy, this is what's going on. I'm like, oh, snap. Why didn't I see that? Because you're in that shit show. And maybe I'm just not evolved enough to be able to work out my own crap.
Oh, no.
And I look for advice, and I look for people that you know, that are guides or, you know, that are empathetic, etc.
Yeah, empathy is a good one. Well, it's funny because being a coach, and I've been a coach for so long, and literally people will say to me like, you're a coach, don't you have it figured out? And I can't even say it without laughing. I'm like, you think I don't have my own shit shows? Like a lot, you know, like I'm a human. I don't have everything all figured out. So it's always such a funny thing because you just can't see it when you're in it. And then the rearview mirror is always very helpful to for me. And I hear what you're saying too about your experiences. It's helpful to reflect on what happened, and then it's a different perspective. And then you can see the journey a little differently.
Right.
And I think it's like in that, what I do and what I encourage clients to do is to trust the process of the journey. Because even if it feels like, like if anyone's getting a divorce or like having a heartbreak, which, happens like every day, it's like holding that there's still something to learn.
I agree with you. However, trusting the process is easier to do when you are not in the shit show, like you said. But when you're in the middle of this shit and you're in the storm, you're like, oh, just trust the process, No, everything in your brain's like, no, this is crazy. I can't trust this. I have to do everything. I have to fight against this. I have to, rebel against this, or it's a struggle, But yeah, and it takes somebody like you to say, Jeremy, trust the process. Here's how it's going to play out. Here's how it's going to work. And, there are people out there. I don't know if, there's somebody out there right now that's listening and they don't have people they can lean on. I would say, go find somebody you can lean on, because it's important.
Yeah, it's important to have that mirror, because I hear what you're saying. When you're in it, you're like, you want to fight and resist and defend. But it's like, once like a coach like me, like how I work with clients is we have tools to use in that moment.
Right.
Because even with myself now, like I've done this work long enough that I can see when I get mad or whatever. And I don't know why, but I know that I'm going to get over it. But because I have tools. So if someone doesn't have the tools to help themselves, they're just going to stay. They're going to be like, no, it's about that person and I'm mad and it's never going to end and blah, 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 because they don't have the tools to understand, tools or experience to understand that there is light at the end of the tunnel and it will change. So I love what you say. Like, it's important to have people in your life, whether it's a friend, but friends are hard because friends generally have a lot of opinions too.
Oh yeah. Or your parents. Oh my God. I love my mom. I love my dad, but no. No.
But no. That's funny. So it's important to have, a coach, a therapist, a friend, or, trusted ally that really can mirror what's happening with love and empathy, like you say. And that right there just helps kind of move the situation forward, basically.
100%.
Oh my gosh, I'm having so much fun talking to you. We have to pause for just a minute. This is Rock Your Life with Ari and Alexander on Fun for Life Radio on the Dash radio station. And be sure to listen to the St. James Band Hour. They have some awesome, awesome eclectic music that you're going to love. My friends Rachel and Emilio have a show called Relationship Renegades. They are a fabulous couple. They have an amazing relationship, and they're teaching you how to have a fabulous relationship too. So check out our shows, and we'll be right back with Jeremy Valdez. We are back with Jeremy Valdez. He plays Detective Alex Sanchez on Bold and the Beautiful, and having so much fun with you. I can literally talk to you forever. I want to go back to one thing you said, and then I have some other questions for you. But I think one thing you said that I wanted to touch on was it's when you have been on set on projects and then you're calling your agent and you're like, what's next? What's next? That's such a normal human function of like...
It is.
Right?
But
it's crazy.
It's about enjoying the moment that you're in, and I have to slap myself all the time. Like, I'll be on vacation somewhere and I'll be in like some beautiful place like the Amalfi Coast in Italy and be like, oh, this is so gorgeous, but what's Naples going to be like tomorrow? I'm like, no, shut up, Jeremy. Stay right here and look at this and really, soak in this moment, in this space, in this time, and the people you're with. Because we always get ahead of ourselves, and it's easy to because we're bombarded by images and messages all day long. It's one of my big lessons that I try and pay attention to. I think it's a big lesson for everyone because I just see that, especially with clients who, I've worked with lots of different celebrities at, all stages of the business and very successful business people, whatever it is. And it's always the thing when they get to the goal, then it's always the next goal. So I always call it the dangling carrot. I'm like, we're never going to get there. Like when I'm making $10 million a year, then I'm going to want 15. Sure. Right? Like it's never going to end. It's just innately human, yes. To not be satisfied. it's like you get the car you've always wanted and it's awesome for like a month. And then you're like, oh, cool, it's my car. You know what I mean? What's the next thing? Oh, I want a freaking Jaguar next time. Oh, okay. And then you're like, oh, I can't wait till I have that.
And then you want a Rolls Royce if you're a dentist.
No, yeah. After I get my dental degree, I'll get a Rolls Royce.
It's so true. And so I think the key is it's always coming back to this moment of just, and that's another tool.
Just being aware of that.
Yes. Right. Being aware when you're running forward.
And I feel like right now I'm talking and maybe some of your listeners might be thinking like, well, okay, you're giving us this advice. And let me just say that I am also dumber than my butt, ladies and gentlemen. Like I am struggling through this the same way everybody else is. These are just my little perspectives and my little moments because I do not have the answers. I ask people for the answers all the time.
And that's what I love. That's what I love is about your curiosity because you're always asking me questions.
Oh God, I am like I think you sent me a text one time after we had lunch and you're like, gosh, you're so interested and you always, you're always interested in what I'm doing and asking me questions. And I just thought to myself, oh no, I'm asking too many questions because that's like, do you ever stop asking questions, Jeremy? No, because I hate talking about myself. Like talking about myself like this is not super fun for me because I always think I am the least interesting person in the room. And I can always like sit across from somebody and then just be like, oh, wow, find something that I'm super interested in and then just keep probing and probing until I get my answers. And then, so yeah.
Well, it's a great quality because that's the thing. I'm always like, I feel so smart and popular when I'm around Jeremy because you ask me so many questions. I'm like,
you are smart
and popular. Somebody listens to me. That's amazing.
You are smart and popular.
So I think it's a great quality that you are so curious about people and life and what's next. And it's awesome. I totally love that about you. So I have a few questions about, you're such a great dad. He is a darling, darling son.
Griffin.
And how old is he?
Griffin is, 2 years and 10 months.
Okay. So you're such a great dad. And what?
I try.
Well, right. We're all like, nobody's perfect at anything. So what is it that, from what you've learned in your life and the challenges you've gone through along the way and where you are today, what's one thing you just want to instill, one or three things, however many, it doesn't matter. What do you want to instill in him that he can use, basically?
Self-belief. And man, I'm sorry for calling you man, but
it's fine.
Every night, I tell him that I love him and I believe in him. Mm-hmm. Like, my parents are great parents and I was raised well. My dad was super strict. My mom was very strict. But seldom in my life, and I think this goes for a lot of people, do we feel like somebody actually believes in us. And so the one thing I want my son to believe in himself and believe that he is smart. He is capable. He can do whatever he wants. That sounds like a cliche, but it's true because more often than not, we are told by our teachers, our coaches, you're doing this wrong. I want to tell him what he's doing right and why he is great and why he can do anything. And I do. And I want him to believe in himself so much that it erases all the fears that I have in myself, even to this day. But I know that they stem from moments in my childhood. And so I have these affirmations that I do with him. And, I just have him repeat, I am smart. I am talented. I am unstoppable. I am courageous. I am amazing. I am, all these things that I want him to believe in himself. And then he's going to, if he goes into his life with that self-belief and that self-confidence, then he's going to get knocked on his ass and he's going to learn his lessons. But he's not going to be stopped because he's a wallflower thinking like, oh, I'm not tall enough. I'm not good looking enough. I'm not strong enough. I'm not smart enough. He's going to have that belief in himself. So those are the things that I work on with him, like on a daily basis.
Okay, did I just understand that you do affirmations?
With my son every day. I've been doing it with him since he was born. And now since he can speak in full sentences and stuff. But since he started to learn how to talk, it's saying those things every night. I whisper him into his ear. When he was born, I would whisper all just positive things into his ear.
Oh my God.
And we live in this society right now, every kid gets a trophy. I know that's a big thing, and every kid thinks he's special in this special flower. And there's a big movement against that, about everybody thinking that they're special. And I'm not talking about making him believe that he's entitled and that he should have everything, and he shouldn't work hard, because he needs a work ethic. And I'm very aware of that, and I really work hard on that, especially now that he's able to do like little things and help and stuff, is building a work ethic for him. But it's just that self-belief in using affirmations daily with my almost 3-year-old.
Okay, me and probably every person listening wants you to be our dad.
Yeah.
So, can you be my daddy?
Well, the problem with me is that I have no patience, and that's my biggest shortcoming as far as being a father. And as far as my life too, and dealing with people, is I'm not a patient person, and I lose my patience very, very quickly with him. And I feel bad about it, and it's something that I work on, something that my wife helps me work on with him, and with her, and is being a more patient person.
Yeah. Well, we're all a work in progress, right?
Yeah, 100%.
So amazing. Okay, I'm going to just run through some like bullet lightning questions.
Sure.
With you. What is your favorite movie?
Oh gosh.
Or just one you
Giant. Like. I think Giant's probably one of my favorite movies.
Wow, old school.
Yeah, with Rock Hudson and Elizabeth Taylor and
old school movie stars.
Yeah, and James Dean.
TV show. What are you watching now that you like?
I can watch Anthony Bourdain over and over and over.
Oh.
Like I've rewatched all his episodes, and I literally cried the morning that I found out that he died. So I'm trying to think, like right now I just finished The Queen's Gambit, which I loved. A TV show called Teacher on Hulu with Kate Mara, who I adore, and she's so cool. What else am I watching? The Handmaid's Tale, can't get enough of that. And I just found out that Ozark isn't coming back for another season, so I'm heartbroken about that.
Yeah.
Other movies, The Godfather. There are movies that I consume like comfort food, like Great Expectations. Like I can watch that over and over because it just makes me feel good. Grumpy Old Men, things like that.
I love it. You're so old school. It's so cool. Okay, what is once kind of we get back to our new normal? Not that we're ever going to have a normal again, but we're going to have a new normal as things open back up across the world. What's something you're excited about when we can travel and do things?
Licking doorknobs. I love to lick a good brass doorknob. No, I'm joking. It would be traveling, because I love to travel. And just exploring the planet. And so, yeah.
Where do you want to go?
Next? Gosh, I'm obsessed with like Japan, China, Hong Kong, Thailand. I've never been to Asia, Vietnam. I've been a lot to Europe, but definitely Asia.
Awesome. Well, that'll be coming soon for sure. Okay, cool. So where can we find you?
On Twitter, it's like at Jeremy Ray Valdez, but I don't post a lot on Twitter. It's mostly Instagram. It's just at Jeremy, Jeremy, Ray, Ray, Valdez, Valdez.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm on Facebook, but I'm not really on there. So it's pretty much Instagram.
Okay, cool. So go follow Jeremy on Instagram. And if you don't follow me. It's at Arian Alexander, Arriane Alexander, Alexander. And DM us and tell Jeremy and tell me that you heard the show. Because I love to hear where you come from, right?
And I honestly, when people DM me or people send me messages, I respond, and don't be surprised if I like start liking pictures in your feed from like 5 years ago because I get like, I try to limit my social media, but if I see somebody that's interesting or somebody that asks an interesting question, I definitely love to engage.
Awesome. That's really cool of you, and people love that.
And if you like off-roading, mountain biking, fishing, country music, things like that, like that's the type of stuff I love following too on social media.
That's so funny. The only thing that we have in common in that list is country music.
Music, yeah.
And you have a truck. I'm used to trucks. I grew up in Oklahoma. All right. I love you so much. Thank you so much for being here with me. This is awesome.
You're welcome.
I'm so excited. I probably will have to have you back in a few months because there's just so much to talk about, and like things will just be different in a few months too.
Let's do it.
Let's do it, baby. And you are listening to Rock Your Life with Ari and Alexander on Fun for Life Radio on the Dash Radio Network. And I am so happy to be here with you. I will be back next week with more awesome things to help you rock your life. And in the meantime, go have some fun.